Hey everyone, what's going on? Thank you so much for taking your time out to check out this live stream, whether you're tuning in right now live or whether you're watching after the fact. And my guest today, and this is the first time ever, is Rob Sims joining me for Back to the Fans episode 14, but the first ever live stream version of Back to the Fans. So, Rob, man, firstly, I just want to say thank you for taking your own time out and reaching out to me to be a part of this. I sincerely appreciate it. And yeah, how are you doing today?
Oh, doing great in sunny Florida right now. I know I'm a couple hours behind you,
Yeah.
so it's a little bit later for you, but doing well. I had to come on and be interviewed by you because you're a huge Back to the Future fan, as am I.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Got the tattoo on my arm as well.
Oh my
So,
gosh, that's crazy.
dude, yeah, got a lot. Got the signed Funkos and stuff back
Mm,
that way.
I
So,
see that.
and yeah, it looks like you've got a bit of a costume like set out as well behind you.
Uh, oh yeah, that's I'm actually doing a broadcasting in our studio. We have a huge studio down here, and we have like Z-racks of costumes that go all the way down the wall, and that's my other thing. We're going to be talking about that anyway.
Wow, yeah, we've got a lot to cover in this episode because this is going to be Back to the Future focus, but it's going to involve a couple of other Rob's ventures as well, which I'm dying to hear about. Very quickly, guys, if you're watching live, please feel free to drop any questions you'd like to ask Rob in the comments box below, and Rob, I'm sure, will be happy to answer
Of
those.
course.
And yeah, we've got a couple of people already. So we've got a good friend Charlie saying hi, guys. So he's joining us live, and we've also got our good friend Pete join us live as well. So thank you guys for tuning in live right now. So Rob, without further ado, so I know a little bit about you. We've talked a little bit behind the scenes.
Hmm.
But yeah, can you kind of just introduce yourself to everyone who's watching you, maybe doesn't know about you, and a little bit about why you love Back to the Future?
Oh wow, it pays the bills. No, I'm just kidding. No, I love Back to the Future. I've always loved Back to the Future. I mean, I went to the premiere of Back to the Future in 1985. I went to the
Wow.
to the to the theater. That's really showing my age right now. And I loved it ever since. I just I grew up watching Family Ties with Michael J. Fox, and every evening it comes on, and then when VHS came out, and we could have Back to the Future at home, and HBO was my friend for a long time because they would always show Back to the Future. I just really enjoyed it, and then when I started working at Universal Studios, I started there back in 1992, and yeah, I've pretty much been there all my life, the years that Universal's been open, because it's almost 30 years, uh,
Yeah.
and uh, and ever since I got a chance to ride Back to the Future, I was obsessed by it. I loved it, and it's just an amazing movie. It's timeless. It has morals behind it. The movie has everything. It's just got a mixture of everything that people that haven't seen it before, they can still understand it and wrap their heads around it. And everybody kind of gets it. So,
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I've got 100% agree. And the cool fact that you mentioned just there is you said that when you were growing up as well, HBO was constantly showing the movie.
yeah.
Um, Over here in the UK, we have a channel called ITV,
Hmm.
and they're famously known for just playing Back to the Future 2 all the time.
They like Back to the Future too. None of the
Yeah.
other two, just Back to the Future too.
Yeah, you never get the first one, you never get the third one either. So it's kind of like someone tuned into that movie first every time, not knowing anything about it. They're going to be like, what's going on?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so I'm not sure if it was like after HBO just showing like the one movie or they showed them all in order, of course. But
That's funny.
yeah, it's certainly weird. But one thing I want to touch on, man, which is going to be a big conversation topic here for anyone that doesn't know. Rob, while Back to the Future: The Ride in Universal was open, was actually the Marty McFly impersonator there. And how long did you do that for, Rob?
Oh man, I got really lucky. So I'm a former stunt man, at Universal Studios. I've done everything from the Wild West show to the Terminator show to the Sinbad show. Pretty much every stunt show that we had on property, I was to be lucky a part of. And so as the years went by, those shows started closing. I went from Wild West, I went over to Sinbad. And then when T2 opened, I said, I got to be a part of that. And so I auditioned as John Connor. So I did John Connor for T2. I opened T2.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great.
Awesome.
And so did that. And then it got to the point where more shows were closing, things were changing. And then 2002, I just came up with this idea. Universal, usually when we have new characters or new development like that, we usually have our show directors. Hell yeah, this is going to be great. I was reading Anthony. And so usually the show directors come up and creative comes up with the concept of the characters. And then they have auditions and stuff like that. Well, I was like, you know what? I'm really good friends. At the time, I had two show directors that were pretty much in charge, of everything. And and they were huge Back to the Future fans, both of them. And I said, hey guys, what do you think if we reach out to Michael J. Fox and his foundation and see if Marty can be a part of the Universal, Back to the Future ride universe, even though Marty's not technically in it. People have always asked, where's Marty? Doc Brown. Doc's always got, where's Marty? Where's Marty? And they got tired of answering it. So, what we did is I came up with the idea and I presented it to them. I gave them voice samples. I gave them, they did photo shoots of me. And basically I did a little mini video audition for Michael J. Fox. So they took all of that information, they sent it to Michael J. Fox, and he approved it. And
wow.
so yeah, and wow. I was very surprised. And so for a couple of years, because every year we have to renew those characters. Like all of our characters, they have the IP renewal and negotiations. Well, that particular character, they have to go to Michael J. Fox and they have to negotiate, hey, can we have him have this character for another year? And so for a good 7 years, I was doing Marty in the park. But I also had to do my other jobs. I was not full-time doing Marty, but I still had to do my other shows. So it would be 3 days a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, but it was consistent. But I never had set days. So a lot of people who wanted to see me, I may not be there on Friday. I might be there on Sunday. So I did that for about 7 years until the ride closed. And then when the ride closed, I just went and did something else. But I continue. The good thing is I love it so much that I was blessed to be able to do Marty outside the park. So I just continue to do impersonating Michael J. or Marty at all events. In fact, I was going to leave next month to Vegas to do Marty because they are doing their auto show at the arena in Vegas. So they called me and said, are you available? And then my doc and me were going to go to there, but I had to turn it down because I had other prior commitments, so I couldn't do it.
Get you. Well, that's understandable. These things happen, and playing Marty for Universal for 7 years.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've had girls. It's so funny. I've had girls faint in my arms. They come up or they're shaking, and it's funny. My Doc Brown goes, "What am I? I'm right here. You know what? Are you going to talk to me?" And they're like, "No, we want to talk to Marty."
Right.
So, but it has its perks.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And I mean, it's crazy, like about the IP licensing. You've got to get Michael J. Fox to approve that because Back to the Future is Universal property.
It's Universal property, but they don't own the characters. They own they don't even own Back to the Future. It's strange. There's a mixture. There's Amblin, there's Blackstone, and Universal Studios. They, Bob Gale and Zemeckis, Universal did, distribute the film.
Yeah.
But there's other companies that also are attached to Steven Spielberg's Amblin is attached to it.
Yeah.
And Blackstone is attached to it. So they have to get the licensing approval from pretty much all of these different entities. Whereas like Doc Brown there's a huge contract. They have a year's worth of contracts with Doc Brown. But having a character that's a specialty character, they had to keep renewing every year to make sure that it was okay for Michael to be allowing that character to be in the park. But they own the likeness of, they were able to acquire the likeness of Doc, but Michael J kind of didn't want, I guess, to be attached to the ride. So they were only licensing for that particular thing. So this was a very unique situation that they had to do, and I'm glad that they did.
Yeah, definitely. I think, as you mentioned, because he's technically not in the ride.
Correct.
He might have been like, well, because I'm not the kind of big prominent feature, like say on a DVD cover.
And what's funny is I was licensed to do Marty. I wasn't allowed to, he says he can do Marty, but he can't do Teen Wolf. He can't do my other characters. It's just Marty. Right. But I'm now that this situation, I'm really toying at doing Teen Wolf. And because my girlfriend, girlfriend is a professional costume designer. She's actually working on a show right now for Norwegian Cruise Lines. So she's doing an entire show for them. She actually costumed for last year's Halloween for SeaWorld. We had a monster stomp show, and it was based off of Jack the Ripper, and she did all the costuming for that. So if I ever have a Teen Wolf costume, I'll have her create it, because she did a Grinch for me. She actually, because I do Grinch too. Cool. And she created a full Grinch costume for me, and she does all my prosthetics and she's a one-hit wonder.
Wow. Yeah, we're going to get into that very shortly.
Because, yeah, of course.
I've seen a lot of the costumes and cosplays and stuff you've done, and they're incredible. I actually have got a couple of questions in the chat that's been relating to what you've touched on so far.
Oh, sure.
So the first one is from Charlie, and he says, did you get to meet Michael J. Fox while working at Universal or any of the other cast members?
Oh, yeah. I have. Michael and I are close. I actually over there, I didn't bring it over there, but I did a private event. I've never had a chance to meet up with Michael until about 9 years ago. And I did a charity. I actually did an event for Michael. He was speaking in Jacksonville, Florida, and his book at the time. And so they had a DeLorean, one of our time machines, and we'll talk about that too.
Sure.
They had one of our time machines, and then they wanted me to do Marty. And I was like, I don't want to do Marty around Michael. That's going to be weird. It's going to be so. So what I did is I did Marty by the car, and then I changed and put a nice suit on, and then after and I went and saw Michael talk, and then afterward was a private party where Michael was, mingling with these uppity ups, and I got invited, and I went upstairs and talked to him and everything, and people were like looking at me weird when I went upstairs because I looked like Marty from 1955 when I was wearing the suit. So I go upstairs, and Michael's there, and Michael and I are talking, and out of nowhere, Michael goes, I heard you do me. And I went, excuse me? He goes, yeah, I heard you, you do me. I said, oh, I portray you. And he goes, yeah, that. And I said, yes, I portray your character, Michael, as Marty and everything. And he goes, cool. And then we just started chatting. I'm really good friends with Jeffrey Wiseman. Jeffrey and I have done gigs together. He was a Doc Brown with me in Reno. Claudia Wells and I are good friends. Tom Wilson. I haven't spoken to Tom in a while because he was at one of our cars at MegaCon Orlando for the Comic-Con convention.
Sure.
So yeah, I've gotten to meet everybody. You have to.
Right. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And one thing I want to say is Jeffrey Wiseman is such an awesome guy.
He's a very sweet guy.
Yeah, and I love that he loves interacting with the fans as well. He's always on the Facebook pages, posting maybe behind the scene pictures or videos or his time on Pale Rider, etc. So yeah, awesome guy. I had to just bring him up there. But no, yeah. So thanks for the question, Charlie. We've got a couple more as well, Rob, and I've got a lot more, to be honest.
Absolutely, you got me for as long as you need me.
Awesome. Well, we'll not be all night because I'm sure you got. But yeah, so the next one we've got Pete. So he says, "Hi Rob. When did you first realize your Marty impression was going to be something really big in your career?"
Well, doing Marty in the park. When I first started doing Marty, it was hard to find the character. Like I was, I look like Michael, but it took a while to really wrap my brain around the character, and I watched Back to the Future many times, and I've done other voiceover work prior to Michael J, and so I just kept watching it, and then one day it just clicked, and I started to be able to do Michael's voice really good, but before doing Marty, I was Doc Brown at the park. I do Christopher Lloyd too, and well, you want to see me in the future?
Wow.
And so I did, but I'm short. I'm like the rest of the guys in the park are height, and I'm such a short Doc Brown, and I have to wear lifts. I actually have these 2-inch lifts that I had made to be able to play Christopher Lloyd, and so it makes me taller than the guys, because I've had one kid one time when I did it. He goes, you look, you're great, Doc, but you kind of look like Marty. And I go, I just made up something, and I'm like, well, he's not here. I don't understand why it looks similar to him. And and so I was like, okay, I'm done doing Doc. I'll just stick to doing Marty.
Right. Wow, man, that's awesome. And just the vocal range on the impressions, just a couple you've just done there. Wow, I can't do impressions, so I really admire that.
Thanks. I appreciate it. It pays the bills.
Yeah, no, of course. I can imagine. So I've got a couple of other quick questions, and I've got a couple of them myself.
Sure.
So I'm currently wearing a Back to the Future the musical shirt. The question is, do you have any plans to come over to see the musical? And Charlie says it's amazing, and I can vouch.
I do want to go see. I was very reluctant about the musical. Because you have those characters are so iconic, and the actors that portray them. I'm like, how is this ever going to translate? How is this ever going to work? And so I was sent some video of the musical, and I absolutely love it. It was really well done. I think the casting was really good. I think the set is amazing, and the car, of course, I know who was working on the car, but yeah, I really want next year. I really want to get over there if they're still running, and come see it. I've got a couple of friends who kind of gave me an open invitation. I just got to fly out there. I would love to see it. I can't wait to see it.
Sure, and if you ever go see it, let me know. And I'll,
oh yeah, of course. I'll let some close friends know that I'm in town and I want to come out and have a pint and go see the show.
Yeah, definitely. And I would just say, if you do see the show, go in with some expectations, but also keep your mind open. I'm sure you will.
I will. Beetlejuice was another, because I do Beetlejuice too, and the musical. I was reluctant on that because it's a very iconic, Michael Keaton, Beetlejuice. Nobody else can do Beetlejuice like that. And when I saw the interpretation, it took me a while to kind of get used to it. But I understand that, Beetlejuice was in 1988. It was for that kind of generation. The musical gears more towards the newer generation, to get them to understand it. But a lot of old timers go, that's not the way, that's not the right thing. And, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. And they made it so everybody can understand it, new versus old. And the show is really good. The set's amazing. That set's amazing too. And I'm glad they're getting an opportunity to continue doing it, because I know that they were doing it and then they got kicked out of that theater because the Hugh Jackman's show was going to go in there. And then the pandemic hit, and then they opened back up again. And now they're getting an opportunity to do that show again.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Yeah. And one thing I've noticed, I've got to agree with you, is that these movies that get made into musicals are actually really written really well. But I think it helps that, for example, like Bob Gale had a big hand.
Bob Gale was there supervising and making sure that everything goes according. Bob, I've talked to Bob, and Bob and I, Bob has said to me that he is always open to interpretation of any version of Back to the Future, because it just keeps people. He goes, I don't care as long as it keeps it alive. That's all that, all that he really matters. Money's not really a thing for him. And that's an honest thing coming from him. And he's like, as long as they can keep it alive and keep it in people's minds, and, he's happy with that.
Yeah. And that's the person who you want behind
exactly
the helm, not just money, so definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So Rob, I've got a couple of questions myself I want to ask now.
Sure.
And we're going to get into it a little bit more.
Of course.
So we've touched on a little bit so far about Universal and about the ride. You were there for 7 years. You've done Marty, you've done Doc, you've done stunt work, which is crazy. But what I'm sure everyone would love to hear, as myself as well, can you tell us any kind of behind-the-scenes stories about the DeLorean, or just some really cool behind-the-scenes stories that no one may know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so that car is called the Oxnard Car. It's called the Oxnard Car is because it was where in California where Back to the Future 3 was shot. That was the area. That's why they named it the Oxnard Car. And so that car, when it arrived in 1990 at Universal Studios, they had it on the tires in the front of the ride for a while. And then things kind of changed. The park started expanding, so they needed to relocate the car, the time machine. So they put it between the shop, the Back to the Future store, and the ride. Yeah. So they actually put it up on mounts and kind of turned it at an angle. Caitlin, oh my gosh, don't believe a word he says. I'm going to get you, Caitlin. And so, hey, Caitlin. And so they put it on its side. So it sat for a long time. I mean, a long time. And it had a lot of abuse, just sitting in the Florida sun. It was cooking and baking. Things were falling off of it. And this upsurge of the Back to the Future community, once, the internet became a huge thing, as it did, the first Back to the Future group started happening, and they started posting, hey, the car's being in disrepair. It's really, somebody needs to give it some love. So that was around the time that I started doing Marty. And I'm also a car fanatic. I also work on cars. And so I said, hey, what if we took the car down? What if we give a little bit of budget? Let's find some budget. Let's do some restoration of some of the car. Yeah. And so my manager at the time was really on board. He was like really into it. So let's do it. So we got the car up the lift, and I started doing some work on the car. That that engine hadn't ran in years. So we gave it to the auto department at Universal, and they took a look at the engine, and they were like, "Oh my God, we're never going to get it running. We're never going to get it running. It's seized up, the fuel lines, everything." But they did. They spent money, and they got the engine running. But that was pretty much all that we did to the car to get it running. And then they're like, "Hey, do you want to just drive it around? You just want to drive around the park with it?" And we're like, "What? You want us to drive the car around in the park?" So we started driving the car around, and we would drive it out on set and everything, not knowing what I know now about that car. So we drove and drove. And then when I ended up not doing Marty anymore, that's when they stopped using the car in the park.
Is that, sorry to interrupt, is that car the one that they've still got on display now?
No, the car that they have on display now is a replica. That is a replica. Doesn't even have a frame on it. It is bare bones. The Oxnard car is in storage in a secured location, and it's being protected right now. It's in a covered warehouse, so nothing's being done to it yet.
Sure. Yeah, so you've got a chance to ride around.
So let me get, sorry. Brain fart. So we rode around, and so they ended up putting it out on display for a while, and then they took it away. Well, they really didn't know what they had, and so I started doing some research on it and going, this car is a movie car. This is one that was used in the movie, because I originally didn't know that. I thought it was just another time machine that they used. They had spare. When I started doing research, and I'm looking at markings, and I'm looking underneath the car, and underneath the car of that one, you can see weld points and spacers in between the axles. Those spaces are used on boat when the car was on the train tracks that they kept for the wheelie. That when the train hit 88 miles per hour, or not 88, it was close to hitting 88 when the third pestle gauge blew and the car did a wheelie. Those weld marks were where the actuator that came down on the track and pushed the car up. A lot of people don't know that.
Wow.
And there's actual drill marks on the side on the driver's side for the camera mounts that people didn't know about. And also that was used in the ride. A lot of people they look at the back of that car and they go, the Mr. Fusion wrong, the Mr. Fusion wrong. And I keep telling people, yes, it's wrong, but it's also a film Mr. Fusion, because if you look in the ride and Biff Tannen's leaning against the back of the vents going, I got all the time I want. And he's holding the keys. If you look at the Mr. Fusion, it's the same Mr. Fusion as the one so that car was used in the ride footage.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I did not know a lot of that. See, because when I was growing up, so I'm 31 at the moment, and when I was growing up, so I first ever went to Florida in 2001, and then I've been about 5 or 6 times since then. So I remember the ride quite well, and I rode it every time I went to Universal when I was a teenager. I rode that ride. So I wouldn't be surprised somewhere, and I'm going to have a look after this stream. I'm going up to my parents' house tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a look in the album, see if I've got any photos of myself at the ride. And
that would be great.
Maybe I had a photo with you in the back.
That would be funny. I've had a couple people send me stuff and go, "Is that you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." Because I was the only one. Universal. I'm the only licensed Marty impersonator for Universal Studios.
Wow. And do you think? I mean, this might be something you might not be able to talk about, but do you think there'd be any point where they might bring you back or ask you to come back for like say like Back to the Future has a 35th anniversary on a 40th or something, the next one, you know?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. There are rumors from the past 3 days. I don't know if you've seen on any of the Universal. They said that they're doing escape rooms. They're doing 2 escape rooms where the Groove used to be. They're doing Jurassic Park, and they're doing Back to the Future. I have not heard nor been contacted by anybody about that. But I can tell you, since I live right here, if it does happen, I will get video and we'll see what it's all about. But as of right now, it's a rumor. And I've heard I've heard a lot of things about the new Epic Universe having Retro Island was a rumor, and they were going to bring back Jaws, Back to the Future, and move ET over there.
Right.
So it's kind of on Confrontation. There was a lot of the rides, that long lost rides of Universal, and it was going to be called Retro Island. But I don't. It's just so hard. I don't know. I wish they would, because they would do so well. When they did the 25th anniversary, they were not prepared for the amount of people that came out. I was there for that, but I wasn't Marty. I was wrangling the time machine because they had rented one of our time machines. Since the Oxnard car wasn't available, they'd rented one of our cars, and the line of people all the way down to Shrek, and everybody came in dressed. Everybody was a Biff or a Lorraine, but all these people were just dressed. And I have video footage of me going, look at all the people going all the way down to the end of Shrek to see Doc Brown in the time machine. And it went over amazing. So I wish Universal would do something, because it's such a good franchise. And it's missed. It's definitely missed.
Oh, definitely. I've got to agree, because the thing is, with the revitalization as such about the musical next year in London, it's only going to be a matter of time, no pun intended, before it goes over to the States. Because there's a big following, not just here in the UK, but in the States, Argentina, everywhere in the world. But obviously, the States, I think if they were to do the escape room, which would be very unique and would drive a lot of people to go to Orlando, or to do it in LA, also that's up in the air. But Jurassic World as well is massive at the moment.
Yes, the franchise is huge.
Yeah, they've got the brand new one coming out this year in June. I believe. I'm not sure. But something like that would be very unique. They might need video footage, so they might call and say yourself. Or an impersonator, or they might have an impersonator there full time.
Help guide you through,
Yeah, because, that would be so cool to have an impersonator guide you through than just say a worker there as such.
Well, the Back to the Future one, I would love to see like Doc Brown. If it was any of the characters, Doc helps you through and helps you solve puzzles because he's a scientist. Because always budget's always a factor. So if they had to have somebody, you want the one key character in that movie to help you through if you get stuck,
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, whether that was the escape room or that Retro Island, I've never heard about that, but that would be amazing, because the thing is with the ride, I personally don't think it would be the same as we got in the past.
No,
they would update it, maybe even
more advanced.
Yeah, and maybe incorporate a little bit of the musical, or maybe like the Telltale games.
Yes.
Give a bit more of that different story, because, it's 2022. There's teenagers getting introduced to this now, young kids, even granddads, grandmas, everyone is still getting introduced to this movie. So yeah, I would love to see that. I would love to see you being represented there. That would be amazing. Whether you've got to put on the inch heels or whatever you've got to put on,
Oh my God, yeah. Whatever it takes. I'm game. If the money's there, I don't care.
Sure. Well, exactly. So a cool question is, I've actually got here again from Charlie. Well, by the way, Caitlin says that she loves you really. So all good.
I love you too, Caitlin.
Yeah, Caitlin's awesome. And if you guys haven't checked out What's the Flux podcast, definitely check them out. And so Charlie asks, and I've seen photos. So, by the way, guys, before we answer this question, Rob has shared photos with me, but we couldn't get it to work. Otherwise, we'd have some pictures showing up right now on the stream. But I've left links in the description box below to check out his website and on Facebook, so you can check them all out on there. But the question from Charlie is, how accurate was your Marty costume back then compared to now? And do you still have your costume that you could show us, Steven?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Let me tell you guys, one key thing when you doing cosplay, research.
Charlie does an amazing cosplay of Marty. I've seen him in London. Just
oh man, some of them just put me to shame. I mean, it's some of the dedication of the costumes. Now I have to tell you though, my 1985 costume, I had actually screen accurate, everything is screen accurate, all the way down to the pins. I started out though, I didn't research, I didn't do my homework. I was like, you know, I found a jean jacket, you know, went over there. I had a jean jacket. It wasn't screen accurate. You know, my orange vest, burnt, wasn't the right color. It wasn't, you know, my jeans weren't right. I just had to get started going. So as the years went by and the Back to the Future community comes out and the prop collectors and the costumes and the cosplay, people started, you know, bringing information and stuff like that. And I did a lot of screen grabs, did a lot of research. And I started going, okay, well, this is correct. This is correct. And it's fun. I mean, a lot of people who cosplay, you know, half the fun is researching, especially time period pieces and finding the right costumes, especially in 1985, finding the right. I actually have a Shy Safari. I have one of the last runs of the Shy Safari real shirts that I use. It's not a copy, it's real. And then my Mongoli Clothers. If you guys don't, I've never checked them out. They're an amazing company, and they do. It's called McFly and Company, and they do all of Marty's costumes from 1955 to. I mean, they do everything.
Oh wow!
So I contacted them when they first started because they had the right denim, they had the right everything. I gave them my measurements and they came with a costume. And I know that a couple of other cosplayers have actually bought those jackets from them. And they're amazing. They look really, really good. The only thing that they don't have is the inner lining print in the back jacket, but they have the paisley on the cuff and all of that. I had the correct Iowa Walkman. I had that correct. I sold that. I got to a point where I'm just selling off all my stuff, and then I started doing it again. I'm like, great. But I do have Nike Bruins. I do have the acid wash jeans. I have the shirt. I have the burgundy shirt. I have the vest. The only thing is I have 1985, but I've been requested to do 1955. I've been requested to do 18 because I'm also a stunt rider, a horse rider. So I was contracted to do Marty in the Old West, and we were going to do that whole thing. It fell through because of the pandemic, but I was going to do riding through the thing, being dragged and everything. So, but yeah, those costumes I wish I had.
I would have loved to have seen the 1885 one.
Well, I want to do. Did you ever see the Secret Cinema? The UK had it.
Yeah, it was in I think 2014.
Yes.
Yes. I think I attended the first night. I went on my lonesome, but I went. It was incredible.
I wanted to go so bad. The video that I see of that, they did such a good job of the carnival, and it was amazing. I wish they would do that in the States. And I think Secret Cinema a while back was considering on doing it in the States, but it never happened. I wish they would bring it back to the UK. I would definitely come out this time and participate.
Oh, definitely, yeah. So I mean, being honest with you, I haven't really heard about Secret Cinema for a while now.
They kind of like petered out. I haven't heard anything about them.
Yeah, I think maybe the pandemic affected it a lot because I think the last one I think they did was Stranger Things, but they might have done.
Yes.
Point, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what though? The fans can make anything happen. So if there's enough, if you got a group together of Back to the Future reunion or whatever you name it, and you get enough fans and you get enough Patreons and you get, of course, everything costs money, but you get enough people together, you can make anything happen.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So for example, recently, like last month, sorry, the time's just flying over, honestly.
I know.
Last month in the UK, we had something called Future Fan Fest in Blackpool. That was made by a guy called Adam, who's a big fan of the trilogy, and he literally put on a hall where he just had Back to the Future, like prop cafe 80s, and just all.
Didn't he have the celebrities there too?
Yeah, he had a couple of individual.
He contacted me. I just couldn't afford he wanted me to come by, but I just couldn't afford to fly out because I'm like, Adam, that sounds familiar.
It's a shame, but yeah, you maybe next time.
Hey, of course.
Definitely. So we've got some more questions as
Mhm.
well from a couple of guys, and again, I still want to touch on a bit of Back to the Future stuff, and then we want to get to a bit more
course.
really personal mentions.
All Back to the Future has to come first. That's the important. That's
Yeah.
the name of the show is Back to the Future.
Back to the fans, sure.
Yes, exactly.
So we've got my friend Adam. He said, "Hi, Mike. I thought you were really sat next to Marty Mcfly for a second." So that's pretty cool. So thank you for that, Adam. That's pretty cool. Got a comment here saying that, Rob, we need a great Scott. I can't do the impression, guys.
Okay. Great Scott! I see you're coming to the interview.
Awesome.
Wait a second, Doc. Are you telling me you made a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Dude, that's incredible. Honestly, I admire it so much. So we've got a couple of other ones as well. So let me have a little look here. We've got quite a few comments, so I'm going to try to
go for it. Of course.
So we've got one here from my friend Pete. He says, what would you say is your most embarrassing moment that's happened, either as Marty or any other character you've played during your career?
Most embarrassing moment.
Don't feel free to answer it, but I thought I'd pop the question out there.
No, absolutely not. I answer all questions. My most embarrassing moment. Well, I had this. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's embarrassing. I just say a moment. I had this girl come up, and she was very excited. She probably was in her 20s, big Michael J. Fox fan. And so I just started going more into Marty. And that's the thing is, especially girls, especially if they're a really big Michael J. Fox fan, I'll just really start going into Michael more and more. And she peed her pants, actually. And she looked down and she goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I felt bad. I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make." So I would say that was not embarrassing, but an awkward moment. I've never had any embarrassing moments because doing Back to the Future, you really don't have embarrassing moments. They're wonderful moments. I have made the best friends from doing Back to the Future. The Back to the Future community is so loving and so accepting. They are just great, wonderful people, every one of them.
Oh, definitely, yeah, and definitely one of the best communities you can be a part of, and I'm so thankful that, because the thing is, like yourself, Rob, both being huge fans, it's, if you have a conversation with someone in general and be like, oh, if they like Back to the Future, just as an example,
right?
You might be like, oh, what's your favorite scene? And then it's kind of like end of the conversation. Whereas, like ourselves or the guys and girls in the comments right now, we can be like, we can really nerd out about this stuff,
Exactly. Well, everybody can relate. There's always that, how should I say, there's always that bully in school. And there's always that, the friendship, and people can relate to the movie. Like I said, everybody in all walks of life have things and traumatic things in their lives that happen. And it's just, this movie is so well thought out and so well put together that you have all those elements, and it's such a loving, in the end of the movie, it's just a loving movie where, with partnership and love and everybody just, it's such a warm ending to a trilogy, and a very rare trilogy that did so well, that doesn't need any more. The trilogy's enough.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And there's always been a conversation where people are like, oh, will we ever get a reboot? Will we ever get a sequel to Back to the Future 3, of course. So if they announced, Rob, so here's a question from my end.
Mm-hmm.
If they announced tomorrow, Bob Gale decided, right, we're going to make a Back to the Future 4, as an example, what would you like to see happen in that movie?
Oh man. Um, I've had this conversation so many times. I think it just has to be a really good script. I think that since Michael and Lloyd are still around, I think that they would be a key role. I think,
Yeah,
unlike Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I just bawled my eyes out at the end of it, that was an amazing
me
movie as
too.
well. I think, like that movie, if it's done right and you kind of pass the torch to the right people, actors, then I think maybe it could live again. But I think that Back to the Future is such a difficult movie to be able to recreate because they kind of just tied all the ends together. Even though
Yeah,
you want another one, it's almost like there shouldn't be, you know? That's my opinion.
agree. Yeah, no, I have to agree. Yeah, and I don't think making another one would. I think it would tarnish it more than anything, even if it's a solid script.
Now, I think you could do it. I think you could do it if it's a cartoon version. I think you could do it if it's a
Yeah,
game version, but I don't think you could do it as a movie version.
I would like to see it as a video game
I
because I
think you
think
could do that. People could accept that.
because if they were to ever do a Back to the Future 4, and by the way, guys, we're not saying that we want to see that just before anyone
No,
goes off in the comments.
no, no, no.
Um, but I think what could be a cool idea is if they did it as say a video game, they could still have you as Doc Brown. You know, you're doing the time travel, or they could still have Michael J as just a young Michael J. Or they could still just acknowledge that he has Parkinson's, but you take the place of him and do these time travel adventures. But he's maybe on like a DeLorean, with like futuristic, so got like a screen in the middle. So he's still on like a video presentation saying, "Look, I've done this before. This is the tips that you need to do your part." I guess.
Right. They've been toying around with different versions. I've spoken to a producer who, and I pitched an idea, and it would have to be a video game version where in Back to the Future 3, when Marty comes back, the train leaves, Marty and Jennifer leave, you still have all of the parts and pieces of the time machine laying around. Wouldn't it be cool as after Marty leaves and Jennifer leaves in the truck, you see Biff Tannen coming out of the bushes because he heard all the crash and he stumbled upon the time circuits because they're still on the ground, and he gathers up all the bits and pieces of what's left over the car. What if Doc Brown had a protege that they had worked together way back in the day, and they ended up parting ways? You never knew about the other scientist that helped develop, even though Doc developed the flux capacitor, where his protege wanted to do something more evil, more sinister, and wanted to use it for as a weapon instead of time traveling. Well, Biff ends up running into this scientist, and he actually builds another time machine. He takes what's left of Doc's time machine that was destroyed by the train in Back to the Future 3, and he creates another one, and they end up going back in time and causing things all over again.
I mean, that sounds like a very interesting take because in the movies you never see how he gets to learn about Marty, and you could
No.
also include some backstory about how we met Marty. I mean, of course, they've mentioned it in like the novels, but never in the movies. So man, I think that sounds like a cool idea, and I think having a protege would be pretty cool.
Yeah, because Doc, you would always have an assistant. Doc would always, you know, when he always works, he always had Marty. He always had somebody, seems like. So what if he had a young protege that was, and when they were younger in 1955, that you didn't know afterwards, that ended up working with Doc and helped developing the flux capacitor, even though Doc did develop it. The other one wanted to make money off of it and just go this way. And Doc's like, no, we can't do that. And they ended up parting ways. But this other individual still had the technology of time travel because he had worked with Doc. And then, but Biff ended up following the truck when they went to the train where the crash site was. So Biff's hiding and he's seeing all of this, and he ended up collecting what was left of the car. That's a perfect setup for another movie or another game.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think that would be really interesting. I think different that we've not seen before as well. Because with Charlie's mentioned here in this comedy, he said he always thought it'd be really fun to see a backstory of Doc and how he became a scientist. Maybe started when he was young. So I know the Telltale games touch on it slightly, where you've got to convince Doc to become like a scientist.
Yes.
So the time he was like going to movie theaters, seeing like Frankenstein, I believe, from a memory of the games.
That it's funny you mentioned Telltale. I was actually submitting my voice work for Telltale when I had known about it, but I didn't get in there. And this is honest. I honest to God, I'm not making this up. I wouldn't do that. I was submitting my stuff, and then Josh, what's his name?
It's the guy.
AJ Koska. AJ got it in before I did. And things happen. I just didn't beat it to the punch. And AJ got to do Telltale. But we have other things that we're going to talk about that are upcoming.
We do. We're going to get into that in a second, because Pete also said here, what about a Cobra Kai style Netflix series with Jules and Bird? So that.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that would absolutely. Oh, and by the way, Cobra Kai, amazing. 80s. Yeah. Let me tell you guys, 80s all the way. 80s all the way. Not just Back to the Future. I grew up in the 80s. Let me see. Oh, that's great. Oh, my God. You got his autograph.
Johnny Lawrence one as well. Yeah.
That is awesome. That's awesome. So which con did you go to? The London Comic Con for that?
Well, those ones I got signed by a private signing. But I haven't met them in person, unfortunately, but private signing with those. But I am going to a couple of Comic Cons where a couple of them are going to be at, so definitely plan to meet them.
Well, I wish that you could come to MegaCon Orlando this year, because I have a booth. Well, I always have a booth, and this year I'm doing a 40 by 40, and this year I have my DeLorean time machine there, and I also have a stage because we're doing a trilogy shot, and so basically you can step in our booth and you can go from 1885 and get a picture with Doc and Marty with the clock. Then you move to 1985 and get a picture with Doc and Marty with the DeLorean. And then you move to 1955 and I have the Enchantment of the Sea Dance. And I'm hiring Marvin Berry, Harry Waters Jr. to do Marvin Berry. So I'll be dressing in 1955 because I actually just bought Marty's the Gibson guitar. So I have that upstairs.
Oh, wow. So when is MegaCon?
May 19th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd.
Okay, so for anyone who's in Florida, definitely get yourself down to MegaCon. Go meet Rob, because I am actually coming over to Florida, but in September.
Well, then maybe we can meet up in September. I'll take you to Universal.
100%, yeah. Man, I would love that. So I'll definitely hit you up near the time as well. But yeah, we've also got Charlie as well. He also said maybe Doc was a science teacher at Hill Valley High School. Maybe Doc knew Strickland, didn't he? That's how he met Marty. That's
a good thought because Doc could have been the science teacher, could have been the physics teacher, and Strickland never liked him from the big get-go. Strickland always was always very well. That's his name, strict. He's strict about everything. Right. And I think that was a brilliant name that they gave him. And ooh la la. No, I'm just kidding. And so, and then him doing physics, some mad, crazy scientist shouldn't be doing the experiments that he does because it could be on the verge of like the Nutty Professor with Jerry Lewis. Kept blowing up the lab, kept doing things that cost the school money. And Strickland was getting tired of it. So that could have been a type of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's a great idea. And you could have given like Doc Brown a couple of notices to say like, look, you're costing us money now. One more slip up, you're out. And
did you guys ever see the movie? Have you ever seen the movie My Science Project?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay, check it out. It's a very Back to the Future-esque movie. You'll really enjoy it. It's called My Science Project.
Right. I've just made a note of that on my phone. Definitely going to check it out. I've never heard of it. So while we're on the topic of video games and games in general about Back to the Future and what could be in the future, Rob, I believe you've got some cool news about a Back to the Future VR game.
Yeah.
What can you talk about that?
Well, this game is still being in development, but you can play the beta version right now. It's called Back to the Future, the video game. And if you go to my site, I'll give you or yours, we'll give you the link to it. This company called Forge FX company, they contacted me because they were a military simulating VR company. So basically, if you needed to learn how to drive a tank or a bulldozer or something, they developed simulators to be able to learn and train and do all of that. Well, they wanted to get into the gaming company. They wanted to develop a gaming company. They developed a gaming company called 1985 Software. And this individual loves Back to the Future, the owner, Dave Valancourt. He loves Back to the Future, so he contacted our shop and wanted to know if we were interested in doing a game. And so we were like, cool. I mean, we've heard this before. You know, everybody talks about wanting to do a video game. Telltale did it. They went bankrupt, and you don't have them anymore. Unfortunately, there was a lot of bad business decisions, I guess, with Telltale that they just ran into the ground. And another company bought them up, and they really haven't done anything since. So this company wanted to do a VR Back to the Future game. We said, well, this would be the best way to do it was this. So they scanned one of our cars, and so they started developing it. We helped them come up with a really small script to see if people would be interested in doing it, buying it.
Yeah.
And so right now it's still in the beta version, but I did the voice of Marty and Doc for that. And it's still in the beta phases, but you can still get the beta. There's another company that just 5 days ago contacted me, and they're a much bigger company. And I do have a feeling this is going to go full. It's going to be a metaverse. I can't give you too much information about it, but it's majorly huge when this releases. And you're going to be blown away at this game. I've seen the footage. I've seen bits and pieces of it, and it's amazing. It's all in VR, but you guys you'll be able to go on adventures, and then not adventures. You could still just mingle and do different things. But the company hasn't launched yet, and that's pretty much all I can say about it. But I am doing the voices of Doc and Marty for that. I'm actually doing Doc, Marty, and other characters that they want me to do, like Old Biff and stuff like that. But I am doing all the voicing for that.
Yeah, I was going to say it would make sense just to have you on for every single voice.
Well, the thing is I'm really good friends with the guy who's developing it, and he's known me from doing Back to the Future, and he was like, well, can you do an old Biff? Can you do a young Biff? Can you do this? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, just throw me the work. I'll do whatever you want me to do.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that sounds awesome. I appreciate you can't say much right now. Definitely in the future, and
it's supposed to happen this year, like all this launching. I think starting in March, we're going to hear more and more about it. There'll be a point in time where you can actually buy into the metaverse and create your avatar for the world. But all of this is all being hashed out. All the licensing is all being hashed out.
Sure. I've heard a lot about this metaverse, and I actually have a friend who's bought a bit of a property here in the UK in the metaverse. So that's pretty interesting.
I think crypto, too, with this too, is they're trying to incorporate crypto in all of this within the universe. I don't understand it, but I'm learning. But it's just going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing when it all comes out.
Definitely. And like Charlie was saying, he's looking forward to seeing how it turns out. Likewise as well, I'm sure everyone who's watching right now is as well. We've got a couple of guys, just my friend Adam saying he's got to go, but he's enjoyed the stream. He wants to see us work more often together, which could certainly happen. I'm always down. We've got my friend Pete saying, brilliant. He said, thank you, Rob, very much for answering his questions, and he'll listen to the rest tomorrow. So
absolutely
awesome. So we've touched on Back to the Future, the VR game. So yeah, the beta is out now. Again, a couple of the links to Rob's personal endeavors and everything about him is in the description box below. I will add more after this stream as well, because I found out even more than I knew before. So yeah, Rob, so what I would like to know from yourself, just personal question from me, is can you tell us anything else about Back to the Future related or Marty McFly related that you've got planned for this year?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always being hired out to do Marty for events and gigs. I actually have a company that I work for called DeLoreanTimeMachines.com, and I actually build DeLorean time machines. It's funny. I did an event for Hard Rock Live back in 2014. It was me and Doc, and this gentleman, which I didn't know about, brought his DeLorean time machine, and I saw it was really, really good, really well done. We did the gig, but he liked how we interacted with the car, interacted with guests, and he's like, "Hey, can I hire you for other events?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, absolutely." So we got to talking more and more, and then I said that, I work on cars too. I'm really good about, as far as accuracy and I research. So he and I started going. His name's Bruce Coulomb. And he is well known in the Back to the Future community of making DeLorean time machines. We just built one for Google that we just delivered to Google. They actually craned it up. They actually had a 10th floor in San Francisco. This just happened about 2 weeks ago. They bought the old trolley building in San Francisco that always housed all the trolleys, and they did all the work. So Google bought it. They added 11th floor. They built an 11th floor, and the CEO wanted to have the car in his office. So we built a hover version DeLorean. We build all the versions. We have one that's called the Trilogy Car, which has all the bits and pieces of every piece of the vehicle on it. We have the arrow. We have the hover wheels that we make by hand. We have the pestle gauges, the pestle logs. We have the hood box, which is screen accurate. And so we built one for Google, and they hoisted it up on the 11th floor, and they put it in the break area. Our cars have been in commercials. And so he and I just hit it off. And so when I do gigs with his cars. And he rents out the car and rents us out. And, I've been doing it ever since. And it's been an amazing ride. I've done things for Walmart, AT&T, so many commercials. I've done stuff for He built, they actually scanned the car for Ready Player One. So one of our cars were at the red carpet at Ready Player One when they had the stacks, and they had the red carpet, and they had Steven Spielberg, our car that was there. He actually built the custom Cyclops, and they scanned the vehicle for Ready Player One.
Wow, that's incredible. Man, wow. I'm blown away. And just the fact of the Google as well, that's incredible. Did you have any part in the Walmart Back to the Future advert?
Yes, that was that advert that they did for Walmart. They had our car. Now I didn't do that. Wasn't my voice for the AT&T. That was actually Michael J. If anybody has seen the commercial where it's AT&T when they came out and they're doing a new thing inside Mr. Fusion, and the voiceover work, that was Michael J. That wasn't me at all. But yeah, it's crazy how, every year I get, I'm also on Cameo. I do Michael J. Fox Impersonator on Cameo. And I get a lot of corporations that they're looking to the future. So they always have me do videos, for the companies I just did one for, I think in the UK, it's called Splunk. I did this huge corporation in the UK. They just sold to, God, I can't remember who it was, but they were a big internet company in the UK. So I did a video for their conference of looking to the future. Well, I guess they look to the future because they to another company. But I get such crazy requests as Marty for stuff.
Yeah, I bet. And 2 questions I've got is, the first one is, what's the craziest request you've ever had for Marty? And the second one is this. Well, actually, I'll ask that question first, and I've got another one.
Okay, well, I get requests from some weird, wacky things on Cameo. Like, out of all the things that I've ever done, I get these weird, like, I've had sexy, like, sex requests on Cameo. Like, can you call me this? Can you do that? I won't do that. One thing though about me is that movie was made for all ages. I will not do or lose the integrity of the character. I will not put this character in any weird or sexual or anything. I absolutely won't. I respect Michael J. Fox. I respect the character, and I will never do that. I will never do a calendar like the DeLoreans on a nude calendar, and they're just doing Back to the Future. I will never do that. And so I've had to turn down a lot of weird, crazy sexual requests that people just want me to say things. Nope, not gonna happen.
Jeez, man, what?
There's crazy people out there. Everybody has weird fetishes.
Right. Well, I assume so.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, fair enough. I don't blame you. I'll probably say no as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I've turned down events because I got called for an event at a strip club. This is weird. They wanted Doc and Marty because they were going to the future with this strip club. So they wanted Doc and they were going to pay us good. They wanted Doc and I there. I know. And I'm like, no, because Doc and Marty would never go to a strip club ever. And he kept upping money to me. I'm like, no, not going to do it. I'm not going to risk my reputation and this character, and Bob Gale finds out for a gig. I'm not going to do it. Absolutely not.
Sure. Yeah, I don't even want to know what they had planned for that.
I don't know. Well, my doc was like, "Are you sure you don't want to go?" And I'm like, "No,
definitely not.
No,
definitely not." So one question I've got as well is, so you touched on your website of DeLoreanTimeMachines.com.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get into that business venture?
Well, that was it. Is just Bruce, who owns it. Bruce and I got to be really good friends, and I've been doing it for 10 years now. I work. In fact, yesterday I was at the shop. We have 3 DeLoreans in the shop right now that we're changing over to time machines. And he and I just became really good friends. I've always been a good prop maker. I'm really good at props. I've been doing props forever. And, so he saw what I could do. And he also saw that I do Michael J. I think that's why he keeps me around, because I won't do events with any other car but his. And I'm dedicated and devoted. He's like family. He's like a second father to me. And I love the guy, and I would do anything for him.
Right. Yeah, understandable. And if you've got that friendship and relationship there, it'd be silly not to use that time machine with him.
And he does wonderful work. I look back at it the other day. I was sitting in the DeLorean. I was working on it. And I sat back and I go, I can't believe how many DeLoreans I've actually been in it. And, it's such a hard car. It's a car that doesn't exist anymore. To be able to sit in the vehicle, and sometimes I take it for granted because I've been there all the time, but I sit back every once in a while and I go, this is an amazing car, even though it's not put together the best. But it's an amazing historical car that means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And they're quite hard.
You can smell it. You can smell the 80s. I know it's weird, but when you get in a DeLorean, you can smell that 80s, that year that it was made. It was just, and it's
Wow.
handcrafted in Belfast. I mean, and it's made
Yeah.
with love. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's got a rich history behind it, we'll put it that way. What's your thoughts about the Super Bowl commercial of the possible electric DeLorean coming this year?
um, well, what they're going to end up doing is they're going to take. I saw the concept, but I think
Yeah.
they're going to use all the Texas, because Texas acquired all of the factory. They acquired all the parts and pieces. I think it's better than them going electric than what they were trying to do.
Right.
Electric's a lot easier. I think it'll be great. It's just going to be a DeLorean with an electric engine in it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they're glad that they finally settled the lawsuit or whatever, everything, the rights to it, and but what the good thing is without a motor, they can sell as many as they want. They were restricted to, I think, what was it? There was a limit because you have to, in the States, you have to, when you have a motorized vehicle, there are regulations with a gas powered engine. An electric engine, you don't have regulations, so they could make as many as they wanted.
Right. Okay, yeah. We
But
don't have
they were only limited to a certain amount from the automotive aspect when it was a gas engine. They were only supposed to make, I think, 100, and that's all that they were allowed to make. Now that's electric, I think it's unlimited.
Yeah, I don't blame them for going the electric concept, because why bring it back for 100 vehicles? They're going to go like that.
Let me tell you, the Volvo engine, and I've worked on them, they are not. When they put the engines in those things, they weren't thinking clearly. There are so many problems with the DeLorean engine.
Yeah, from what I've heard anyway, but you've got first-hand experience, so you can definitely vouch.
Yes.
So Rob, do you build your own DeLoreans, or do you also take in, like, say, a customer off the street comes in with the DeLorean and be like, right, we want to turn into part 2, for example?
Yeah. So they have a choice. They can either come in with their own DeLorean, or they can ask us to hunt one down for them. A lot of times they don't have one, and that's included in the price. We will find them one. But DeLoreans are going for 50. Even ones that have a lot of miles on them are going for a starting price of $54,000 now. We used to get them for 32. We used to get them for 25. But if you want a really good one that's got some decent, that works well and it's in good condition, you're starting at 56,000 right now, just to get a good running DeLorean. But yeah, we will do that, and then we add on, our price for all the transformation. We have different, like I said, we have different versions of the vehicle. We have different price ranges. If you can't spend so much, then we it's a la carte. So we kind of whittle it down. We won't use original parts. We'll use replicated parts, kind of like that. So.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's very interesting, because I looked on the website the other day and I found out a bit more information as well before coming into this. And yeah, it's just so interesting. And as you say, especially say, for example, here in the UK, I think the cheapest price I saw a DeLorean, this was a while back, was £30,000, which is maybe $45,000, $47,000, depending on exchange rates, of course. So I mean, but even that didn't mean to say that version was top-notch condition,
right?
And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised when the electric one comes out. The originals go for even more.
Oh yeah, they're going to be. Oh yeah, with inflation and everything, I don't expect them to sell any less than 70,000, 70 to 90 is what my guess is. They may be cheaper. They may start them out, but I know that the original plan, when they were supposed to be making the gasoline ones, they were going to start at 100, 110.
Wow.
But you're going to have the top elite people being able to afford them. Maybe with the electric ones, they're going to be a lot cheaper. They really haven't come out with the price yet.
No, I think it's going to be an interesting price. I'm excited to see the concept, to be honest. And
I can't wait till we get an electric one in that we can transform.
Yeah, that will be cool. But I wonder how easy that will be, the transformation.
Oh, it'll be fine because we never touch the engine. Everything else, everything else is around it. It depends on what the inside looks like. If it's the original DeLorean, it'll be fine. If it's a new concept, like the Cybertruck, we were contacted to transform a Cybertruck a while back, but that hasn't come to fruition yet.
That would have been cool to see if you got that. If you do, let me know.
Oh, you'll be the first.
Awesome. So, Rob, I'm going to maybe keep you for about maybe 10, 15 more minutes because I appreciate you've got a couple of things on tonight as well. So, for anyone that's interested, of course, we've talked about DeLoreanTimeMachines.com. Definitely check out the website. You can have a couple of other links. So, another thing I want to touch on is your company called Cos Fx Studios, which I've been trying to talk to you a little bit about. So,
of course,
how did you come up with having your own studios, and what's been your favorite cosplay that you've ever put together, or with the help of your wife?
She and I developed this company together. I was already doing professional cosplay for Comic-Cons, and so one time I needed a Lydia because I was doing Beetlejuice for a Comic-Con. And I'm like, I can't find a good Lydia and everything. And I just happened to stumble upon, because she and I worked together at Universal for many years, and I didn't think anything of it. This was prior to us getting together. And then she happened to have, and Facebook actually works because I saw her Facebook of her doing Lydia, and I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. The dress is wonderful. It's screen accurate. So her and I started doing Beetlejuice and Lydia cosplay together, and it took off. And then we were doing it for Comic-Cons. We get paid to show up to do those characters. We actually have the arches. We have full scale, and everything in my company is full scale. We actually built the arches, the fireplace of Beetlejuice, and you could come and be part of that. You can step into the movies, and her and I actually are on microphones, and we interact with the guests as they come up to be part of the photo. So that took off. And then her being a costume designer, I was like, this works well. And one day her and I sat down, and I said, we're cosplayers, and I do all the technical electronic side is what I'm good at. And she's the costume designer. So she's the cause and I'm the effects. So for every cause, there's an effect. So I said, Cos Fx, that sounds really great. Let's go with that. So we developed this company called Cos Fx Studios. So we travel around all the Comic-Cons. Last year, or the year before, we were all around the United States with our photo booth. And we do everything from Ghostbusters full scale to Beetlejuice full scale. I'm actually developing the Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe's with the sled, and interact with guests. We'll do anything that the cons want. We actually give them the a la carte, which a lot of people don't do. We're really good friends with Fan Expo Canada, and they handle Fan Expo HQ. They handle all of the Comic-Cons in Canada and the United States. And so we've developed a relationship with them where we give them the opportunity. What would you like to see in whatever cons? We will build it and bring it. We actually do Rocky Horror. We had a Rocky Horror, and her and I do Riff Raff. She does Magenta, and we have we let the guests be Tim Curry's character and do Frankenfurter, and so they can sit on the throne, and her and I are both sides. And you step into the movies. And a lot of people forget to pick up their pictures on the way out, because I'm not saying that we actually become the characters. We interact you with the voices, and you're blown away.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that kind of style of like an a la carte, as you said, like that's unique. I really dig that.
It's a challenge. We love it. I love a challenge. And when a con says, "Can you bring this?" We're like, absolutely.
Yeah, and well, I can imagine, because you cater for that service, they're going to want you back even more, because they'll be like, right, well, Rob is flexible, whereas, say, another company might be like, no, we're doing
A lot
specific.
of people are one-trick ponies,
Right.
and we always like to keep it fresh. And I love the challenge. And being a voice actor, it's fun because you get to research the character, and it's not just being a voice actor behind on a microphone. You're actually doing the character in front of people,
Right.
and that's why I love doing it. One of my fun ones of doing Christopher Lloyd is doing Fester, because we also do the Addams Family, and we've had an entire cast of the Addams Family do cons, and the girls, the older ladies love Fester, because a lot of times when I don't have Debbie, like I'll go up to to the girls and going, excuse me, I'm looking for Debbie. I know she blew up, but I could use you. And so, so the Addams Family is one, and we're gonna do. I know I want to do Captain Krug from Star Trek, Christopher Lloyd. That's one thing that we're going to do, is actually build a Bird of Prey, the Klingon chair, the commander chair, and I'm going to build the Genesis device behind it, and then people can come up and interact with Captain Krug with it.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I've been to a Star Trek. It was like a Star Trek museum exhibition in Blackpool a couple of years back.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really cool. I've got a best friend who's massively into Star Trek, so know exactly what you're on about.
Star Trek's another franchise that's huge. Like, I know we have Star Wars, Back to the Future. Star Trek is huge too. A lot of Trekkies. I was always a Trekkie. I was never really Star Wars. I was always a Trekkie.
Wow. Okay. See, I was more into Star Wars, but I guess it's when I was growing up more than Trek. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Like the fan bases, and Back to the Future, Star Trek, Star Wars is massive. And as you said, even Addams Family or Beetlejuice. So
yeah,
like, can you give us
a cult following? They all have a cult following.
Right. Right. Yes, a lot of them do. Can you give us a couple of other examples of maybe what else you've got in the works besides, of course, the Green Goblin?
Well, aside from the Megacon, which is coming up, we are developing other things that I can't speak of. Sure. Green Goblin is one that we're definitely developing. That's really huge. I know that we based it off of. I waited till the movie came out, and I wanted to see how. Because Willem Dafoe, I've always loved Willem Dafoe. I've loved all of his work. He's such a very versatile actor, and I knew that Green Goblin was very important to that franchise when it came out, and people really received it well when Spider-Man came out, and the Green Goblin, and then people went nuts. I saw the theater reactions in the trailer when Green Goblin, like Doc Ock was amazing, but when Green Goblin showed up, people lost their minds. He's just one of those characters that are just badass and mean, and I was reading other Jim Carrey characters. Well, I do Grinch, so I guess that's Jim Carrey.
You're definitely right about the Green Goblin. Everyone went nuts. Even when I went to see it in the cinema, and on the release day itself, I went at the 9 a.m. showing to see the movie.
Wow.
Because I was just that hyped to see it. But yourself, a movie like that, or say like the Batman coming out next week.
Man, I am a huge Michael Keaton fan. A huge. A lot of people didn't like the Tim Burton ones. I love the Tim Burton ones. 1 and 2 were amazing.
I think they're great.
Everybody has their own version. I just think Michael Keaton was really good. I think it was really good. I mean, I like them all. I know that Batman and Robin were cheesy. Everybody, but they all have their place, kind of. Right. I think Jim Carrey as the Riddler, he was good, but he was hokey. I think was it what's his face? Two-Face. Who was that? That was
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones. Again, I think it was great, for that version. and
Definitely.
and it had its
Yeah.
place. I think the Arnold, Mr. Freeze was way over the top. I think that was kind of like, wow, I spent my money to go see this, you know.
Yeah, the thing is though, I guess it's for like that timepiece, because if they were to do like Mr. Freeze now as Arnold Schwarzenegger again, it would be
I
laughed out the cinema. People would walk out of the cinema. But at that
Yeah.
point, they were like, Arnold Schwarzenegger was Mr. Freeze. We used to him as like in Commando or
Oh my
Conan.
God, Commando was great. I have a story. I'll tell you real quick. You
Okay.
remind me. Doing Terminator, when I did T2, we were sitting backstage. We were just chilling out. This was Christmas time. It was New Year's. All of a sudden, I looked down the hallway and I see James Cameron. James Cameron's walking. So he comes in with his entourage. And after the show, I had no idea. We're all standing there. We're all in shock. And James Cameron's standing there and he goes, "Hey guys, I just wanted to come in. I wanted to tell you the show was amazing." And I'm thinking, you made the show. You made the show. He goes, and we asked him, I said, "You've never seen the show before?" He goes, "I saw the approval show when it first opened and I'd never seen the show again because as soon as he got done with T2, he had to go do Titanic."
Right.
So he
Right.
had spent all of his time doing Titanic and he never had gotten to see the show. So that was the show that I did that James Cameron got to see. He bought us pizza. So we ate pizza with James Cameron for a short while and then he jetted. So that was my amazing story with James Cameron.
How did you ever get to meet Arnold? Or anything?
I did. In the opening, when we opened, he came back and met everybody. And he was a sweet man, very nice. He liked the show, and everything. I've met so many celebrities. I've not just doing when I worked at Disney, because I worked at Disney World prior to Universal Studios. I've met presidents. I've met Jimmy Carter. I've met, because I did Peter Pan before I worked at Universal. I was Peter Pan at Disney World, and yeah, I've met tons of celebrities, amazing people.
Rob, I think I'm going to need you on for a part 2. Man, honestly, I've got so many more questions, but
you can have me on as many times as you want.
man, I would love to, and I think I've had a lot of comments as well, so a lot of people's been tuning in while we've been talking. But the one kind of last question I want to kind of fit. Well, actually, I've got 2 last questions I want to ask, and then
Sure.
I'm going to wrap things up.
Sure.
So the first one is in terms of about the Cos Fx Studios and your own company about that. So you mentioned about the Green Goblin, and can you tell us anything about the Green Goblin you've got coming up? Or are you going to be doing like a reenactment of Spider-Man No Way Home with that? Or
so what we're going to end up doing is,
again, if you can talk about it.
No, I can. It's my company, so I can talk about it. So what we're looking at is my wife is going to end up developing. We're going to do the full armor, but I don't want the mask. I'm going to do William Dafoe, the Green Goblin, full face. I'm actually building the sled. The sled's going to hover. It's going to actually go up and down, and you're going to be able to. You're going to actually be able to step in with the Green Goblin and get your photo opportunity with him. And I'll be interacting with the guests. That's in development. And we're working on some logistical things right now, but that we're still building. It's still in the infancy. But we're going to have that soon for people. I mean, we'll still do our TikTok, our William Dafoe TikTok stuff. There's a lot of other stuff that we're going to develop too, with other characters as well for TikTok. It's funny. Her and I have never had time for TikTok. I mean, we were always doing other things, but TikTok's really ramping up. So we're going to start, and I hate saying it, but technology bases it off of, getting out there, getting the word out there. So we're going to develop more stuff with those characters, but she's actually going to start doing a Lita, Battle Angel.
Oh yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, that's in the works. That we have another cosplay that we're going to do for that. But when we go big, we always go big. We're actually doing Labyrinth We're going to be
Alright,
doing
yeah.
that. She's actually building the actual screen accurate costumes for me, doing Bowie for that as well. She's like, you need to do Bowie more, and so I'm like, do whatever you want. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. So
I think you'd make a good Bowie.
thank you.
So I would like to see that. And the last question I've got, besides all this exciting stuff you're coming up with the Green Goblin and the actual flying glider, that's going to be sensational. It kind of links into my last question, and Charlie's kind of helped ask that as well. So, in your house right now, do you have any Back to the Future props on display, fan made or real, or what would you say is your best prop collectible that you have?
Well, I have here. I'll turn it. So over here, I have like part of my Back to the Future display. I have my actual hoverboards that I had in the park. I have a real Valterra skateboard that I have that's at the shop right now. I have well, hold on a second. I'll show you. Hang on. I'll be right back. Stand by.
Of course. Yeah, we're in for a treat right now, getting to see some of Rob's merchandise and everything that he's got. So wait to see what he's got coming back. Well, thank you everyone so far for tuning in live or after the fact. Really, really appreciate it. And honestly, it's been such a great conversation with Rob, and I hope you guys haven't missed this one, because really awesome to have a live stream of Back to the Fans. So.
Hold on, I'm there. Stand by. Something you should never do is dead space. So this I just acquired. So yeah, and I'm actually learning. I actually have a teacher that I'm learning because I've been requested so many times to play Johnny Be Good. So I'm learning to play Johnny Be Good for live performances. And God, I've got so many freaking props, but they're all at the shop. Like most of I don't keep anything here, but it's all at the shop. Here, come here. Over here. So this is my crazy other half. So
Hi.
Yeah, this is Kylie. She's the costume designer. She's amazing. But that's for another episode.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to talk about that a bit more in depth, because there's a massive range over there as well behind you guys.
Oh, thank you.
There's loads over there.
And then we have just tons of costumes. Like they're like, this is our Beetlejuice Christmas. If you can see the stripes, at Christmas time we do that. And I have all my Back to the Future stuff over there, and yeah, it's really crazy and nutty.
That's it. Well, nice to meet you anyway. And Charlie says hello as well.
Hello, Charlie.
So, well, that's going to be it, guys. So we're going to wrap this up with Rob. It's getting nearly midnight here in the UK.
Oh, gosh.
Rob probably got a couple of other things to go on as well. So, Rob, I just want to say, just honestly, from bottom of my heart, thank you for taking your time to do this.
You're very welcome.
And you're my first ever Back to the Fans guest on a live stream. So that's pretty cool. Definitely in the future, I hope to have you on more, maybe do another episode.
We can. Absolutely. Remember, your future is whatever you make it, so make it a good one. Doc always says.
That's incredible, man. I can't get over it. But yeah, so all I'm going to say is to anyone tuning in live, like Charlie is right here, to saying thank you for taking the time, Rob, to come onto the channel and answer questions. I hope they have you on in again in the future. But yeah, if anyone tuning in live after the fact, again, in the description box down below, I can't reiterate enough, we've got Rob's links of DeLoreanTimeMachines.com. We've got Cos Fx Studios website and social media links. And we've also got a couple of other links in there as well with Rob, and there will be more after the fact. But Rob, just before I sign out, got any kind of last comments you'd like to make?
Well, I just had a great time, great meeting you and meeting all the fans. And I hope to be back here on another episode. We've still got tons to talk about.
Yeah, definitely, man. And we'll sort it out in the future.
In the future.
in the future. But yeah, man, definitely we'll have you on for another time. But for now, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And myself and Rob, we will see you all later.
Bye.